I never believed in ghosts. Not really. I always thought those stories were just exaggerated, something to scare kids around a campfire. But after what happened to me, I don't just believe. I know. This isn't just a scary story. This happened. It was a cold October night when I got the tent from my girlfriend, Emily. "Hey, I'm home alone. Can you come over?" Nothing unusual. I had gone to her place 100 times before. Her parents were out of town for the weekend, and she hated being alone in that big old house. It was one of those classic 2-story homes, a little outdated with wooden floors that creaked when you walked on them. It always had this eerie vibe, but I never thought much of it. I texted her back, telling her I'd be there in 15 minutes. When I pulled up to her house, the porch light was on, but something felt off. The street was dead silent. No wind, no crickets, just an eerie stillness. I brushed it off, walked up to the door, and knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. I was about to text her when I noticed the door was slightly open. "Emily?" I called as I stepped inside. The house was dark, except for a dim light coming from the living room. I walked in and found her sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, but the screen was just static. "Emily?" I said again, this time softer. She slowly turned her head toward me and smiled. "Hey, you came." Her voice was quiet, almost distant. I forced a chuckle, trying to shake the unease creeping up my spine. "You okay? Why was the door open?" She tilted her head like she didn't understand the question. "I was waiting for you." Something about the way she said it sent a shiver down my spine. Her eyes looked off, darker, hollow, like she wasn't really there. I sat next to her. She was freezing. Her hands, her arms, ice cold. "Jesus, Em, you're freezing," I said, pulling a blanket around her. She just smiled. "I'm fine." We sat in silence for a while. The static from the TV buzzed through the room, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. Then she spoke. "Do you remember the first time we met?" I frowned. "Of course I do. It was at Jack's party last summer." She shook her head slowly. "No, the first time we really met." I opened my mouth to respond, but suddenly, a noise upstairs made me jump. A loud thud, like something heavy hitting the floor. I turned to Emily. She was still staring at me, smiling, completely unfazed. "What was that?" I asked. "You should go look," she whispered. Every part of me screamed not to, but something pulled me forward. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and slowly made my way upstairs. The hallway was dark, but at the end of it, Emily's bedroom door was wide open. I stepped inside. The air was freezing, and the moment I shined my light toward the bed, my heart stopped. Emily was there, lying in bed, motionless, pale, lifeless. I stumbled back, my breath caught in my throat. This wasn't possible. Emily was downstairs. I had just spoken to her. But there she was. Her skin was ashen, her lips blue, and worst of all, her eyes. Wide open, staring blankly at the ceiling. A piece of paper lay on her nightstand. My hands shook as I picked it up. "I'm sorry, I didn't want to be alone anymore." I felt the world spin. My mind refused to process what I was seeing. Then, behind me, a whisper. "Now you remember." I turned slowly. Emily stood in the doorway, the same eerie smile on her face. But now I understood. She had been dead the whole time. I ran. I don't even remember getting out of that house. All I know is I never went back. Later, I found out the truth. Emily had taken her own life 2 days before I got that text. 2 days before I sat with her in that living room. 2 days before I saw her smile one last time. She wasn't alone that night. I was.